I'm staring at a spreadsheet that's making my heart sink, because I just realized my friend has been paying $943 every month in debt payments, and it's been 3 years since she started, and she still owes $53,219. You're probably in a similar situation, staring at your own stack of bills and statements, feeling like you're drowning in debt. I know I was. I had $67,000 in debt, and I was making $51,340 a year. It felt like the debt was suffocating me, like I was never going to catch up. But then I discovered the debt avalanche and debt snowball methods. I tried both, and I want to share my experience with you, so you can decide which one might work better for you. The debt avalanche is all about paying off the debts with the highest interest rates first, while making minimum payments on the others. It makes sense, because you're saving money on interest in the long run. But it can be tough to see progress, especially if your high-interest debt has a big balance. For example, let's say you have a credit card with $2,500 balance and 22% interest, and a car loan with $10,000 balance and 6% interest. With the debt avalanche, you'd focus on paying off the credit card first, because of the higher interest rate. But it might take a while to pay off that credit card, and it can feel like you're not making progress. That's where the debt snowball comes in. This method involves paying off your debts from smallest to largest, regardless of the interest rate. It can be more motivating, because you see progress faster. You pay off the small debts first, and then use that money to tackle the bigger ones. I remember when I paid off my first debt, a $1,200 credit card balance. It felt amazing, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And it gave me the motivation to keep going. But I also realized that the debt snowball might not always be the most efficient way to pay off debt. Let's go back to the example I gave earlier. If you have a credit card with $2,500 balance and 22% interest, and a car loan with $10,000 balance and 6% interest, the debt snowball would have you pay off the credit card first, because it's the smaller debt. But if you have another credit card with $500 balance and 18% interest, the debt snowball would have you pay off that one first, because it's the smallest debt. It can get confusing, and it's not always the best approach. That's why I want to share a hybrid approach that I used, which combines the debt avalanche and debt snowball methods. It's not for everyone, but it worked for me, and it might work for you too. The idea is to prioritize your debts based on a combination of factors, including the interest rate, the balance, and the minimum payment. You want to focus on the debts that have the highest interest rates and the smallest balances first, because those are the ones that are costing you the most money in interest. But you also want to consider the minimum payments, because you don't want to neglect your other debts. So, you make the minimum payments on all your debts, except for the one you're focusing on, which you'll pay as much as possible. For example, let's say you have 3 debts: a credit card with $2,500 balance and 22% interest, a car loan with $10,000 balance and 6% interest, and a student loan with $5,000 balance and 4% interest. You'd make the minimum payments on the car loan and the student loan, and focus on paying off the credit card as fast as you can. Once you've paid off the credit card, you'll use that money to tackle the next debt, which in this case would be the student loan, because it has the next highest interest rate. And so on. It's not rocket science, but it does require some discipline and patience. You need to be willing to make some sacrifices, like cutting back on expenses and using that money to pay off your debt. But the payoff is worth it. I paid off $67,000 in debt in 38 months, and it felt amazing. I was able to save money on interest, and I was able to start building wealth. So, if you're struggling with debt, I want you to know that you're not alone. Millions of people are in the same situation, and there is hope. You can pay off your debt, and you can start building a better financial future. If you're ready to get started, I want you to take one action today. I want you to write down all your debts, including the balance, the interest rate, and the minimum payment. Then, I want you to prioritize them based on the hybrid approach I shared with you. And, if you're feeling overwhelmed, just remember that you're not alone. There are resources available to help you, like credit counseling services and financial advisors. Drop your biggest debt in the comments below, and I'll give you some personalized advice. I read every single comment, and I want to help you pay off your debt and start building wealth. If this video has helped you, please hit the like button, because it tells me to keep making content like this. And if you know someone who's struggling with debt, please share this video with them, because it might just change their life. In the next video, I'll be sharing my favorite budgeting tips for paying off debt fast. It's called the 50/30/20 budgeting rule. Does it really work? And it's a game changer. So, be sure to check it out. One of the biggest challenges I faced when paying off my debt was dealing with the emotional toll it took on my life. I felt anxious and stressed all the time, and it was hard to enjoy the things I loved because I was always worried about money. But, as I started to make progress on my debt, I began to feel a sense of freedom and empowerment that I had never felt before. I remember when I paid off my second debt, a $3,000 personal loan with 15% interest. It felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and I was able to breathe a sigh of relief. I realized that I was one step closer to being debt-free, and that motivated me to keep going. Another strategy that helped me pay off my debt was using the power of compound interest to my advantage. Instead of just making minimum payments, I tried to pay as much as possible towards my debts each month. This allowed me to save money on interest and pay off my debts faster. For example, let's say you have a credit card with a $5,000 balance and 20% interest. If you only make the minimum payment of $100 per month, it will take you 116 months to pay off the debt, and you'll end up paying a total of $12,311. But, if you pay $500 per month, you'll pay off the debt in just 12 months, and you'll only pay a total of $5,955. That's a savings of $6,356, just by paying more than the minimum. I also learned the importance of having an emergency fund in place while paying off debt. This might seem counterintuitive, but having a cushion of savings can actually help you pay off your debt faster. If you don't have any savings, you may be forced to go further into debt when unexpected expenses come up, which can set you back significantly. For instance, let's say you're paying off a debt and your car breaks down, requiring a $1,000 repair. If you don't have any savings, you may be forced to put the repair on a credit card, which can add to your debt and make it harder to pay off. But, if you have an emergency fund in place, you can use that money to cover the repair, and avoid going further into debt. In addition to the debt avalanche and debt snowball methods, I also explored other strategies for paying off debt, such as debt consolidation and balance transfer credits. While these methods can be helpful in certain situations, they're not always the best approach. For example, debt consolidation can be a good option if you have multiple debts with high interest rates and high balances. By consolidating your debts into a single loan with a lower interest rate, you can save money on interest and simplify your payments. However, if you're not careful, you may end up paying more in interest over the long term, or accumulating new debt. Balance transfer credits can also be a good option if you have a high-interest credit card debt and you can transfer the balance to a new credit card with a lower interest rate. This can save you money on interest and help you pay off your debt faster. However, if you're not careful, you may end up accumulating new debt on the new credit card, or getting stuck with a higher interest rate after the introductory period ends. Ultimately, the key to paying off debt is to find a strategy that works for you and stick to it. Whether you use the debt avalanche, debt snowball, or a hybrid approach, the most important thing is to make consistent payments and avoid accumulating new debt. It's also important to celebrate your successes along the way, no matter how small they may seem. Paying off a debt can be a long and challenging process, and it's easy to get discouraged. But, by acknowledging and celebrating your progress, you can stay motivated and focused on your goals. For example, when I paid off my third debt, a $2,000 credit card balance with 18% interest, I treated myself to a nice dinner and a weekend getaway. It was a small reward, but it felt amazing to have reached another milestone on my journey to becoming debt-free. I also learned the importance of having a support system while paying off debt. Whether it's a spouse, a family member, or a friend, having someone to hold you accountable and provide